Johnny Cream here with my latest haul from an Asian supermarket food court. This is from the brand new 99 Ranch in Fairfax. We got a smattering of everything from across the food court. We actually didn't even get to go to one food court spot, so you know I will be returning. First things I want to start with are the things that are still hot that have to be eaten right away. So I'm going to dive into this sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich. This is from the Filipino restaurant there, and it's the longanisa Filipino style sausage. I've been smelling this the whole car ride back. Very different kind of sausage. It's not a breakfast sausage kind of vibe to it. It's more like almost like the filling like a dumpling or something. You can taste the soy sauce and the Asian spices to it. I'm gonna do one more bite because I didn't get to the yolk yet. Usually not a huge fan of soy saucy stuff with eggs, but that was pretty solid. Was missing some heat, and I would like some more cheese though, I would say. But overall, very good. Next up, I'm gonna do the karaage chicken, which obviously is from the Japanese place. I love karaage chicken. One of the main reasons being also because they use dark meat usually for it, which is vastly superior to white meat. And we got some spicy mayo and some chili oil on the side for it. I think I'm mainly just going to use the spicy mayo. The chili oil I have some other plans for. So obviously bringing it back, it lost some of the crunch, but it definitely still has some there. And the chicken, because it's dark meat, is just so melt in your mouth. Delightful. Oh, so much juicier and not dry in the slightest. And I love spicy mayo, one of my absolute favorite condiments. If this was fresh and hot, it would be really fantastic. As it is, still very good, but I think I've had better. I think the karaage chicken at Umai was even better, I would say. Now I'm gonna dive into some of these sandwiches. One of these is spicy pork, and then one is spicy cumin lamb. I can't really tell which one is which, so I guess I'll find out on the bite. This is the pork. Oh man, it is luscious. And the wrapper, it has such a nice chew to it. It's really, really pleasant mouthfeel. I wouldn't quite call it crunchy on the outside, but it's like a little bit stiff and chewy in a really pleasant way because the filling is so soft and melts in your mouth. You definitely need to put some chili oil on that one. Oh, so this is the spicy cumin lamb. Oh yeah, big fan of this. The last time I had something like this was at John Famous Foods in New York. Definitely not for you if you don't like cumin, but I very much do. Not too spicy. The cumin and lamb just go so well together. The bread that it's on is delicious too. I think I like this slightly more than the pork. But the pork, if you jazz it up a little bit with some chili oil, maybe some Chinese vinegar or something, just needs a little bit extra. Has the fattiness and the richness, but you just want some additional extra flavors. Both of them, very good though. Definitely a fan. Alright, so next up we're gonna dive into these dumplings here. These are pork and chive dumplings, and I just made some dumpling sauce to go with them, a la Peking Gourmet. It's just soy sauce and Chinese vinegar. And then we have some shea daddy and chili crunch to accentuate. I'll try one bite first with nothing on it just to see how the dumplings are. They look really good though. Filling is great. Classic pork and chive dumpling. Outside is a little bit slippery, which I don't mind. It's nice and thin though. Definitely will be nicely accentuated by some chili and some of the dumpling sauce. I'm gonna go with a little bit of chili crunch to start. That little extra zing, a little saltiness from the sauce, a little bit of spice from the chili works really well with it. I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna try some with the Shea Daddy one, which I tried before on some fried rice and it was really fantastic. Man, for these dumplings, I might like the Shea Daddy better than the chili crunch even, which feels sacrilegious because I love the chili crunch so much. But it just has like a little bit greater depth of flavor, almost like a nuttiness to it. It's a little bit more oily too, which I love. Eating this right over my beef noodle soup because why would I care if this gets a little chili oil in it? Damn, that was fantastic together. Very solid dumplings. Now I'm going to jump onto, this is a king dragon roll, which is avocado and unagi over a shrimp tempura roll. I'll try one with the giant shrimp tempura ends first. I like the unagi sauce. I like the combination of flavors. Unagi's sweet and a little more slippery and savory. The shrimp still has a good crunch to it. And I'm gonna like this even better when I dip it in a little bit of spicy mayo. I know it's such like an American thing to love, but man, the shrimp tempura and unagi and spicy mayo, it just really makes great sushi to me. Big fan of that combo. Now we got pork belly rice bowl from the Filipino restaurant. It came with a little lumpia. Lumpia, honestly, it's just my favorite of all of the different egg roll type things. They're just so damn good. I'm gonna give it a little bit of that dumpling sauce, a little bit of the Shea Daddy. It's still so crunchy. I love how thin the wrapper is. Try it with a little bit of chili crunch next. Now here, this is the pork belly rice bowl. They have the pork in all these little tiny chunks. The egg looks cooked perfectly, and then they poured some sauce over top at the end, along with these herbs. Get ready for a gorgeous looking yolk break. Oh yeah, so nice and soppy. I'm gonna make my first bite. Full bacon and egg here. That is so good together. I mean, how can you go wrong? It's literally bacon and eggs over rice with some delicious sauce on it. The pork belly is cooked perfectly. It's not too fatty of a bits, but it's still nice and fatty. I love the rice. The sauce gives a little bit of the saltiness. The richness from that egg, I'm gonna bust that up a little bit more. Oh man, this is so good. Pork belly just has a little bit of crispiness to it still. But the flavor is just fantastic. I love that all together, and I need one more piece. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so brief recess from all of the savory tastings. I'm going to try, this is a matcha latte with honey boba. When it came, it was originally milk on the bottom, tea on top, and now it's nicely mixed together. Really good. Not too sweet, but I don't get the bitterness. The tea is pretty rich. I'm still never going to be a big boba fan, but I actually like these honey boba more than almost any boba I've had, especially with the green tea. You know what it is green tea and honey are just such a perfect match for each other flavor-wise. And these are just very subtly honey flavored. It matches with it very well. That's delicious. This is a passion fruit green tea, and this one, I don't know if you can see, but it has actually 3 different kinds of boba in there. There's ube, there's brown sugar, and there's honey. So a nice blend of all. Passion fruit, always so good with the green tea. This one's not as sweet as the other one. I actually like my passion fruit to be like straight dessert, where it's just like basically drinking passion fruit juice. Like the sweetness level of a soda. Although it goes really well with the green tea. Still not the biggest boba fan. I like the honey ones in here. I think those go the best. The brown sugar is good, but I like them more in a milk-based boba. And then honestly, I don't even taste the ube ones too much. Finally, this is a watermelon cheese crema. There is no boba in this one, but they have that nice heady cheese topper. And I figured I landed on this one because it's seasonal, so I gotta try out while I can. That cheese crema on top is so good. Oh, it reminds me of this fruit dessert that my Chamorro relatives make, where you mix together equal parts cream cheese and marshmallow fluff, and you put it on watermelon. It sounds weird, but it is so good, and that is exactly what this reminds me of. I do wish the watermelon drink was actually a bit sweeter. It tastes like blended watermelon, obviously, but I think there might be some water in there. I love that like cheesecake floater on top. And again, I know it sounds like a weird combination, but watermelon and sweet cream cheese just go so well together. Wish the watermelon was a little bit sweeter. I do like there's watermelon pulp in there, because it makes you just feel like you're tasting just blended watermelon. It almost tastes like they just used the watermelon closer to the rind or something, and not the really like sweeter parts in the middle. But that cheese topping is fantastic. You can kind of perfectly portion it out where you get a little bit with every sip. Definitely looking forward to more cheese-topped drinks in the future from this place. All right, so next up we have these buns that I put in the oven, get them nice and warm. This is the today's special bun, which it's got some green onion, got some sesame seeds, got what looks like some cheese maybe on top. I don't know, it feels nice and warm and fluffy though, so looking forward to this. It's good texture. I like the green onion on top. It's slightly sweet, there's just not a ton there. It's kind of just like bread with some slight toppings on there. I need something to put on it, dip it into. But the bread itself is good. And this is a green onion with pork sung bun. You can see this is like a roll and there's some pork in there. So I'm guessing this is gonna be kind of like a Chinese barbecue pork ho-ho. It's almost like that pork floss, like really thin strands of pork. Much more flavorful than the other one. Maybe a touch salty for me. I'm a little more sensitive with that though. I like the pork, but I wish instead of the like pork floss, the pork's a little bit dry. I wish it was like the filling of a good barbecue pork bun, where it has that sauce and the more luscious pieces of pork. But still, pretty good. Now we have beef noodle soup. Got some bok choy on there. Got some nice herbs, some curly noodles. Gonna need to break this up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and pour in the broth for you. Definitely going to be adding some chili oil to this. Taste the broth first. It has an interesting spice to it that I can't totally put my finger on. Maybe it's just some, actually, it might just be Chinese 5-spice powder. Definitely tastes like there could be a little bit of star anise in there. Nicely flavorful though. And you know what? Really, really love the herbs in there. It brightens it up so much. Get some of the noodles now. The noodles didn't hold on to the broth as well as I was hoping. Kind of need like a scoop of the broth with the noodles. The bok choy is nice and crunchy. The noodles have pretty good texture though. Maybe just a touch soft for me, but pretty enjoyable. You just definitely need, I want more broth with each bite. The broth is very unctuous. It has a nice mouthfeel, like coats your tongue almost. It's so smooth. I'm gonna try some of the beef now. Very tender. Got like a little bit of tendon or fat in it, but not too much. I don't like when I just get straight pieces of tendon. Good beefy flavor to it. Goes well with the broth. Overall, it blends really well together. This is a very satisfying beef noodle soup dish for when it's colder out. As I said before, I love the herbs in there to really brighten it up. All right, almost forgot to try beef noodle soup with the ultimate condiment, the chili oil. I'm gonna try one bite with the chili crunch from Momofuku first. Definitely adds what's missing a little bit. Some extra spice, a little extra texture with the crunch. Would definitely recommend spicing it up a bit. I'll try some of the Shea Daddy, which has actually been even better with some of these dishes, I think. When you don't need the crunch as much, I tend to like the Shea Daddy a little better, but I think actually this one, the crunch is pretty needed. The flavors just blend so nicely with the Shea Daddy. Do a mix of both. Wow, that really elevates the soup to another level. I was thinking like, this is pretty good, I like this. When you add the peppers, the chili oil, oh man, it's like a whole different soup. All right, so next up we have two different ramens here. We've got the Tamashi volcano ramen and then the veggie ramen. This one's got a nice jammy looking egg in there with it. Just gonna dump it all in. Try to give you a view of all the what's inside. This looks very promising. I just need to kind of turn everything over so I get the toppings on top. I mean, volcano ramen, I'm assuming it's gonna have some nice good spice to it too. The pork, the chashu looks nice and tender. Not as red of a broth as I was expecting. Noodles look very promising. Not super spicy, but solid tonkatsu broth. The chashu is good flavor, but it's not as fatty as I usually like it. I like my chashu pretty rich and fatty. Broth is very solid, almost a tiny bit salty on its own, but that's kind of good because it goes perfectly when you eat it with the noodles and the toppings. There's some ground pork in here, some woodier mushrooms, some corn. Overall pretty solid. Definitely gonna try some of the Shea Daddy on this. Shea Daddy just always adding such nice spice, and then the Szechuan peppercorn. Try a little bit of chili crunch in there. The chili crunch is even better with this ramen. You know, I'm realizing the more I eat this is actually really good ramen. Not like my favorite ramen in DC, but really good, worth trying. The broth is nice and flavorful. Chashu could be a little bit fattier. Noodles have good texture. They call it the volcano ramen. They said it was spicy, but it wasn't really spicy until I started adding the chilies on top. So that would be my one criticism. Fattier chashu and a little bit more spice. But you know what? It's good. You can just add your own spice. All right, so now we have the veggie ramen. It's got some good looking toppings on there. Obviously, can't expect it to compete too much with the meat ramen. But I love the bok choy. It's got the corn, and I already know the noodles are good. We'll see. It's really going to come down to how good the broth is, because that's really kind of the most essential part, more than the pork. Ooh, these noodles are interesting. They're thinner and they seem a little bit chewier. But yeah, like I was saying, the pork and the broth is more important for that richness for me than it is in the toppings. But hey, there's nothing non-vegan about the chili oil, so I can still spice it up like that. Broth just leaves a little something to be desired for me. The veggies are nice and crunchy. It's just I really crave the richness and the meatiness and the savoriness of a bowl of ramen, but maybe with some chili crunch. As expected, that definitely makes it better. The broth is just more like soup broth than like a ramen broth for me. I mean, it's not bad, but if you're looking for a vegan option, sure, but definitely not my first choice, unsurprisingly. All right, I got a pretty unique item here from the Filipino place. This is fried chicken with an ube waffle. It looks like a chocolate waffle, but it is not. It's ube, and then they give me what looks like some ube sauce for it too. So first I'm just gonna take a bite of the chicken. Very interesting spice mixture on top. So crispy, good flavor. But there's something in the spice mixture that's sour, almost as if it was like powdered lemon juice or something. Not overpoweringly sour, but it really adds a nice dimension of extra flavor to it. Get some of this ube bubble waffle, do a bite of this together. Plays pretty nicely with the sweetness of the waffle. I like a crispier waffle, but this has also been through a car ride back home, so I can't totally blame it. I also wanted to save it towards the end since it's both savory and sweet before I move to dessert. I'm gonna try it with some of this ube sauce now too. I don't taste a ton of the sauce. Seems like it might have gotten a little bit sweeter. Try pouring some on the chicken here. The ube is such a nice color though, that dark purple. Definitely sweet, but it's a lot looser than like a syrup. A little bit, kind of like you put honey or maple syrup on chicken, but a little bit looser. That's where that sour seasoning on the chicken really shines though. It plays off the sweetness of the waffle and the sauce so well. I wish the waffle was crispier. I also like it a lot airier too. You can see that it's fairly bready, not as light inside, a little bit denser. I generally like waffles that are like crispy on the outside and almost like non-existent on the inside. It just like melts in your mouth so quickly. Chicken was good. The sour seasoning kind of really makes this for me because it helps it tie it together really well into something that you eat together and not just like separate items to enjoy. All right, so we have our desserts here from the bakery inside 99 Ranch. This is the Boluo coconut bun. Oh yeah, that filling looks good. I want some more filling, so I think when you get towards the middle more, it's better, but pretty good flavor. Just my common complaint for a lot of this, a little bit bready for me. Something that I know won't be bready, glorious slice of tiramisu cake. Happy birthday to whoever's birthday it is definitely not mine. This thing is covered in a very light whipped frosting of some kind. I'm hoping it's mascarpone, but it seems more like whipped cream. Looks like there's a mascarpone layer between the cakes. It's pretty good. The cream is really nice and light, matches well with the cake. You get a little bit of coffee flavor for sure in the cake. Kind of tastes like a latte as a cake, or like a cappuccino as a cake almost. With all that like airy foam of the cream, and then you get that coffee flavor and some of the softness and the sweetness in the body of the cake. Not bad. Finally, this is a cake roll slice, and oh my god, this thing is literally like a pillow. It's so soft and squishy. I'm a little worried. There's not much in the middle here, but I don't know, maybe it's so nice and moist that I don't even need the filling. I like the flavor and the texture of the cake. The texture is really what you're here for. I mean, this thing is so squishy. It's really light. It doesn't have the flavor. I don't want to compare it to Angel Food Cake, but that's all I can think of because of the lightness of it. But it is kind of like biting a cloud almost. Not overly sweet. I would like more cream still, unsurprisingly, but very satisfying. I just can't stop squishing it. It's so fun. So that wraps up this round of the 99 Ranch food court. I will be back. There's still a restaurant that I haven't tried from there, as well as some other dishes. I didn't even get the lechon from the Filipino place because they were sold out of it while I was there. So I will be back with more from there, but overall, I think this was even better than the H Mart food court. I loved a lot of dishes from here.